Welcome back, friends and hate watchers, and you are watching What Lies in the Sunday Telegraph, a weekly exploration of what is in Australia's number one selling newspaper. It's normally not anything we like, but it's good to know what your angry uncles are talking about or being informed by. Let's see, on the cover we have a picture of a koala next to a woman in a white dress, so, yeah. Not moving too far away from form. We're talking about the real toll of the bushfire devastation, which then has four bullet points, which they've obscured with an ad, a Japan on sale sticker. So it's good to see they're taking this very seriously. The headline is Wipeout, new satellite maps reveal extent of destruction. So just the same stuff your friends have been passing around on email all week. Passing around on probably Twitter and Facebook. More than 24% of koala habitats were lost in New South Wales, and large tracts are gone on Kangaroo Island and Victoria. It's good to see the Sunday Telegraph is catching up with the environmental catastrophe of the fires. And then we've got Amazing Grace. She's the woman in white. How I Saved the Yellow Wiggle. We've had more wiggle news in the last 24 hours than I had thought was possible. So 2 pages of Japan on sale, tourism. This is Inspiring Vacations is the company. I wonder if they're owned by Harvey Travel. I don't know. Which brings us on page 5 to Mixed Picks. What are the best things in this newspaper, as chosen by its editor? Let's see. Number 1, Your Complete Guide to Australia Day. So we're not embracing the Change the Date campaign there, I see. Number 2 is Body and Soul. She's the boss. Reinvent yourself. And I think it's a picture of Elle Macpherson, who is certainly aging well. Number 3, White Pays to Be Nice. Hollywood's ultimate good guy explains why we need to treat people better. Tom Hanks special. This is because he's got his Mr. Rogers biopic coming out. Scott Paper's back, and here's some survival tips for bushfire victims. He lost his house, and today he shares the things he wishes someone had told him. So that's the Barefoot Investors now doing bushfire news. Good. Number 5, the best stuff to binge over summer, movies, TV, and music. Countdown to Australia's greatest band, AC/DC, Air Supply, Bee Gees. Who is the best of all time? Kerry Parnell, and there's number 8 on this list. Maybe it's time we all did a Megxit from our lives. If only Kerry would do a Megxit from my life. Number 9 is Suddenly 30. TV news anchor Sandra Sully notches up career milestone. 7-day TV guide inside for whoever is still using a TV guide printed on dead trees to figure out what they're going to watch and how they're going to watch it. Okay, so Grace Under Pressure. This is Grace Jones, who certainly photographed well for the Sunday Telegraph, who saved the life of the Yellow Wiggle when he collapsed on stage. The original Yellow Wiggle. Don't forget, younger fans only think Emma's the Yellow Wiggle. Yes, sort of highlighting why I'd had to quit the band a decade ago. That's more than enough Wiggle news for this thing. It's good that there was a nurse in the audience who could help. Right, so apparently there's some conflict between the Education Minister and the Public Service. New South Wales primary school students will be free to use their mobile phones when classes resume at the end of the month, despite state government assurances the devices would be banned from day 1 of term 2020. The delay reveals a breakdown between the Department of Education, which says the bans won't happen till the end of the year, and Education Minister Sarah Mitchell, who has implored principals to go out on their own and implement bans at their schools sooner. Experts warn the delay of the mobile phone ban will prolong students' exposure to online bullying, sharing of sexually explicit images, and predatory behaviour from strangers, and distract kids in their classes. They're still going to have to deal with all that when they get out of their classes, though, aren't they? Apparently Victoria managed the bans in 6 months. While I share everyone's general concerns about what mobile phones are doing to young minds, they're going to have to learn how to cope with them in their lives. And what's school for if not that? Right, there's a double-page IVF report on publicly funded treatments defy age code as 65-year-olds try to beat the odds of having babies. You wonder if nature isn't trying to tell us something, that fertility becomes very difficult at a point where you're not going to live long enough to raise the child to adulthood. Well, there's a fair chance you're not going to live long enough to raise the child to adulthood. Let's say a 65-year-old can have a medical miracle. They're still going to be 85 when the child is turning 20. But I'm not going to... I'd say I'm not going to try and stand in the way of someone seeking what they think is going to make them happy, but the public funding concerns me a bit for what that's worth. Final curtain for cities past a pioneer. Right, Lucio's restaurant in Paddington is calling it quits. I'm glad that's worth page 9. Right, Annika Smethurst reports in a much smaller article on page 9, across the page from Harvey Norman's Amazing Value TV and Stereo Deals. Do you want a clipped sound system? Climate doubters to toe the line. Senior members of the Prime Minister's staff have warned climate change doubters within the Morrison government to toe the line. It comes as new evidence emerges, and has been given to Annika Smethurst, about Scott Morrison's long-term acceptance of the climate change, despite accusations the summer bushfires disaster had prompted him to change his language. An analysis of Mr. Morrison's speeches over his 13-year parliamentary career reveals he has always accepted climate change science and previously called for Australia to take sensible actions. Yeah, who did that analysis, Annika? Did you do that analysis? Did Scott Morrison's office do that analysis and give it to you? And look, if he's moving towards Labor's policy, that's still useless, isn't it? Driving a Tesla down to the coal mine to watch the exports leave is, a little warm fuzzy for the Tesla owner, but it's not actually changing the fact we're exporting billions of tons of dirty pollutant. It's going to stuff our own ecology, let alone everyone else's. Bunch of bastards. Harry and Meghan are eyeing off a Canada mansion. I mean, really, that's page 11, is it? Quite probably the owner of the mansion's the one flogging that story as well. Right, parents pay $15,000 price of childcare. More from Annika Smethurst as National Political Editor. Parents are paying more than $15,000 a year for childcare in New South Wales. Well, Annika's discovered childcare. Wow. With hourly fees soaring more than 34% since the coalition came to power. And how many Liberal Party donors own childcare centres? Oh, wait, I forgot. Peter Dutton actually does own childcare centres. Sorry, Peter Dutton's wife. No wrongdoing. Everything at arm's length. Right, the actual news here buried around 6th, 7th paragraph, towards the bottom of the story. According to the latest data, more than 1,000 of the 8,000 daycare centres in Australia have an average hourly fee above the government's cap. 1/8 doesn't seem like news, does it? Right, now, page 12 and 13 is satellite maps expose bushfire Armageddon. Then there's some pleas by tourism operators, please visit us. God, there's pictures of the wild horses in Kosciuszko that need culling anyway, now not able to get any fodder. Okay, page 15, so we've got a Harvey Norman clearance of entire home carpet installations for $99, which I suspect is per metre. Oh no, that's the installation fee is $99. Someone's taking a bath on that. How cost-cutting failed bushfires. That's good to cover that. That's Linda Silmanis. The Telegraph says, what we say let down by lack of planning. For the rural firefighters, it was an impossible choice. Let a fire roar headlong into a built-up area or try to control it with unpredictable backburning. Truth be told, there was no choice. They did what they were trained to do, and there were, unfortunately, tragic consequences. So then it goes on to say the problem isn't fires doing backburning to try and protect properties. It's government indecision, cost-cutting, and lack of planning presented them with a situation most easily described as lose-lose. Fossil fuel exports leading to runaway climate change is a bit of a problem too, but small steps from the tally. Anyway, now that we've got the Sussex's property news out of the way, we can have another 2 pages of bushfire newses, which is the Barefoot Investor's Guide to Surviving a Home Left in Ashes. Apparently it's also time for a nation to say thank you to its heroes. Bushfire season isn't over. And then there's some coverage of Ryefield Hops, which is a very small hop producer in Bimboka, which is, I think it's the second time they've been burned out. Interesting way of describing it. The 4-year-old business has already become the country's 3rd largest hops grower. They're a long way off 1 and 2, I'm willing to bet. Certainly HPA Hop Product Australia is a different planet. Anyway, of course, thanking our heroes distracts from talking about climate change. How that might have had something to do with all the fires. Joe Hockey says America really likes us. Well, The fat golf buddies in Washington think we're okay, I guess. Oh, Miranda Devine. We got Miranda Devine back in the Sunday Telegraph. Oh, how we haven't missed her. Oh, God, Miranda on Joe. Can you think of anything worse? Imagine getting stuck with him on a lift. Joe Hockey entered a quarter century in politics and diplomacy with a star-studded farewell shindig in Washington overnight for 450 of his closest friends. I mean, are we trying to be funny with that? Or are we just admitting that the whole thing's a lie? If your closest friends number in 450, none of them are that close, are they? The outgoing ambassador's sometimes golfing partner Donald Trump was a no-show, but sent along his acting chief of staff and treasury secretary. That's a bit of a, this is your place in the world, isn't it? Oh, Tony Abbott and Greg Norman gave speeches. And businessman Anthony Pratt helped pay for the party. Oh, there's no problems there with one of Australia's wealthiest men paying for our ambassador's farewell party. No problems at all. So Joe's certainly giving us a keen view of what the billionaires want and need, and mistaking that for the voice of America, although that is a mistake. I concede is easy to make and could turn out to be correct. Okay, headline into the red. Shooting linked to Underworld's investment in failed entrepreneur. A second drive-by shooting has been linked to the hunt for a failed tech entrepreneur whose company went bust, owing Underworld figures who'd invested in it tens of millions of dollars. And shady characters aren't the only people looking for self-styled app developer Armin Naaman. The ATO is chasing him over a $7 million bill. Not paying the tax man is how most small businesses slide into bankruptcy. Apparently a cemetery price comparison website is going to be set up so people can get the best deal on their funerals. Some morbid modernity for you. Right, celebrity chef Matt Moran will headline a food festival to draw people to back to Sydney's restaurants. Apparently people stopped going to Sydney's restaurants, but that can't be. We keep being told how Sydney's restaurants are the best in the world. The Sunday Telegraph's always talking about their revolutions. I'm shocked. So there's a story about a guide dog getting some training at New South Wales Government House. It's been named after the Governor, Margaret Beazley. So, guide dogs, hooray. I mean, there's your distractions. And look, cute puppy. Mandy Squires is complaining about Peppa Pig on soft drinks. Apparently it leads to pester power. Just do your shopping online. So Annika Smethurst has a story. Bungles cost us millions. Taxpayers have forked out millions of dollars in compensation payments due to bureaucratic bungling. An analysis by the Sunday Telegraph has uncovered thousands of mistakes made by government employees, resulting in more than, wait for it, $6 million in payments from Home Affairs, Centrelink, Medicare and the Australian Tax Office in the past 2 years. $6 million? $6 million, Annika? By way of comparison, a seagull intersection paid for by a town council cost around $5 million a decade ago when I was looking at those things. Spread across multiple departments, employing thousands of people, you've managed to identify $6 million worth of so-called bungling. Don't get me wrong, $6 million is a lot of money to me. It's probably a lot of money to you. In terms of government expenditure, I think we're trying to create a narrative of bureaucratic incompetence rather than having any real evidence to back it up. Right, Aidan Devine, the real estate editor, tells us that cafes and trams are the future of the city fringe and the inner city is coming to Sydney's outer suburbs. Housing experts say residents on the city fringes will be sipping lattes in graffiti laneways and riding trams in mini Melbournes if current planning trends continue. I don't know how to begin to unpack the cognitive dissonances involved in that. We got some news from Beulah in Victoria, where Cheryl Lorden insists on flying a faux Nazi flag to celebrate her German ancestry. Residents rallied yesterday to show that a local couple who have raised a Nazi flag above their property don't represent them. Okay, Ben Pike has an interesting story about the unauthorised trading in second-hand poker machines. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? A place can have a license for 100 machines, but is someone actually going to go around and count them? And, a machine with its blinky lights is parked in a club. Are you actually going to check that it's a properly licensed and certified one? 2 women were taken to hospital after a fight outside a popular Darlinghurst bar. Friday night was the first major test for Sydney's night spots after the lockout laws have relaxed earlier in the week. About 2 a.m, police and paramedics were called to the Oxford Arc Factory on Oxford Street after a fight between 3 women. One woman punched another woman in the face before jumping on a bus. All women are believed to be known to each other. It was a relatively quiet night for paramedics in the city otherwise, with no significant assaults in the lockout zone. Right, last drinks have been extended to 3 a.m. So the Snitch, which is our Law and Order gossip with Ava Benny Morrison and Brendan Hills. The cop is facing tampering charges. A senior constable and a transgender woman with a history of bad interactions with police meet at a bar. What allegedly happens next doesn't bode well for it either. Anya Bradford, who identifies as a woman, got into a scuffle with police outside the Golden Fleece Hotel in Liverpool last May. Bradford was initially accused of assaulting police, and Liverpool senior constable Mark Anthony Follington allegedly came up with a detailed statement of facts to prove it. But the tables have since turned, with the officer now the one accused of assaulting Bradford and manufacturing the case against her. Senior Constable Follington, whose employment status is under review, had his first day in court last week, charged with common assault, intending to pervert the course of justice, and tampering with evidence. So it sounds like Ms. Bradford is quite the victim of police misconduct here, and should possibly not have been reported in the way that was. So Sky News evening thug Paul Murray apparently reads Feminist Baby to his girls. That's nice. Cocaine driver bites cop. A police officer has been bitten multiple times in a violent struggle with a driver arrested on cocaine possession charges. The 45-year-old motorist allegedly tested positive for the drug at a roadside test in Earlwood, in Sydney's southwest, on Friday afternoon. Police said when officers found 13 grams of cocaine on the Campsie man, he lunged and bit a leading senior constable on the arm. During a long struggle, the officers suffered more bites. The man was taken to hospital with minor injuries and charged with multiple offences. The police officer was treated for the bites. That's good, they treated him. So the source, with Annika Smethurst, Linda Silmalis and Miranda Wood. Life's a beach for Eddie. Eddie Obeid has taken a holiday to the beach with his family. Isn't that nice that Eddie gets to see out his twilight years still surrounded by wealth, comfort and loved ones? Apparently Darren Hinch is going to do a regular spot on Sunrise. Apparently John Setka's still using bad language. Important to remind us that we don't like union thugs, isn't it? Those nice corporate bosses, when they never say a bad word, do they? I mean, they loot your pension fund and put you out of work and devastate communities, but well-dressed, nice language. So in diet news, we have a doctor who's eating a entirely meat-based diet. It's phrased as Dr. Carnivore versus the vegans, and you know what? I respect vegans enormously, and I eat meat myself, so I'm not going to be beaten up on people who do. I think people being beastly to each other about their dietary choices, I don't have a lot of time for. Okay, so Cameron Adams has decided who are Australia's best Aussie bands of all time. It's a crap list. So number 1 is AC/DC, number 2 is the Bee Gees, number 3 is INXS. I mean, all arguable. Number 4 is the Seekers, number 5 is Air Supply, number 6 is Men at Work. At 7 we have the Wiggles, 8 Little River Band. There's a lift out going on here. Savage Garden, Hillsong United. Can you believe it? Over Midnight Oil, which is the next one. That is disgusting. They're using Hillsong's garbage made-up figures to give them that. Crowded House, Silverchair, Cold Chisel at 14, Jet at 15. Saints, Nick Cave. I'm coming into the lift outs now. Oh, look, Australia Day. We've got Australian flags and little Australian tattoos and lots of Aussie pride. Kids love it. Sharing the community spirit. It's going to be a Sydney spectacular. Oh, this is amazing. Not one mention that significant chunks of the population are opposed to this manufactured festivity. So sport is talking about how much great Ash Barty is. We're definitely on to tennis. I suppose the Australian Open is on. It's interesting the telly's still promoting The Witcher on Foxtel, where of course you got your Foxtel account and then you need your other account, your Netflix account to make it work in Foxtel. So they're trying to lure particularly stupid people into their ecosystem with something that they don't need to be in that ecosystem to watch. I mean, this isn't amongst the form guide where people who are too stupid to just bet on their phones get the odds that they then take down to their bookmaker to place bets with. Ian Chappell thinks Mitchell Stark's an important bowler. That's good. Oh, God, we got all the guides to regional Australia Day. Boganshire Council and rural New South Wales will be rolling out the welcome mat next weekend. Oh, some more Australian bands. We're into the bottom 15 of the 30 now. So rounding out the 30, Empire of the Sun, 5 Seconds of Summer, Icehouse, Powderfinger, Wolfmother, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Tame Impala, Hilltop Hoods, the Divinals, the Hoodoo Gurus, the Living End, the Angels, Skyhooks, the Veronicas, and Angus and Julia Stone. All in all, it's not that bad a list. The rankings seem a bit meh. Interesting, we're now promoting podcasts as part of binge culture. As a podcast producer, I approve. How Posh and Bex first met. We got 2 pages on that. Oh, there's a new book. Let me guess. Is it published by HarperCollins? It's published by HarperCollins. Isn't that great? So there's World News leads with Ken Starr is coming back to defend Donald Trump. And Alan Dershowitz, who's fresh from protecting Jeffrey Epstein. I'm surprised the Trump team's willing to have someone so Epstein connected working with them, considering Mr. Trump's own, President Trump's own Epstein connections. Iran is talking to an audience that isn't an English-speaking one. Apparently, they're saying the US is happy about the jet disaster. Generally, with these jet disasters, it takes at least a decade to find out what actually happened. So Hank Azaria won't be voicing Apu on The Simpsons. I'm surprised The Simpsons is still trundling on, but they haven't decided whether Apu's getting retired, but a white man won't be doing his voice anymore. Alright, Annika Smethurst lets us know that no doubt the PM has been hurt. So you got that briefing from the PM's office. After a string of wildly inaccurate predictions, it would be wrong to approach opinion polls with anything other than the deepest degree of skepticism. Brexit, Trump's victory in our own 2018 federal election should have taught us that public opinion is elusive. I thought our federal election was 2019. But I'm very sure it was. Good to see Annika can't even get basic details right in the first paragraph. If that's the case, Scott Morrison and his coalition colleagues have nothing to worry about after the latest opinion poll put Labor ahead for the first time since the federal election. Straight up briefing from the Prime Minister's office. Well done, Annika. Give yourself a Walkley. Lucy Khan says, let's not lose sight of the real scandal. Harry and Meghan's split from the royal family has taken the spotlight off Prince Andrew and the allegations against him. Piers Ackerman is still fighting the fight against climate change, still being given half a page to do it. It's sort of an eighth of a page spread across 2 pages. There's nothing like certainty, and no one is more smugly certain when it comes to climate change than the true believers. The science is in. If you dare question, let alone challenge, you don't question, Piers. You certainly don't challenge. You just speak whatever the coal industry wants you to say. Peter Credlin, loaded politics of fires. With the Green left intent on using the bushfire crisis to score political points, Scott Morrison must focus the debate on reducing fuel loads. At least you got the strategy right there in writing. Talk about fuel loads. Don't talk about how hot and dry it all became because you've been polluting the damn planet with your damn coal. Scott Morrison is in the political fight of his career. I don't say that lightly. He's been in plenty of scraps over the years, but few have seen him so wounded, up against an opposition so full of might and spleen. Oh God, I wish I had the might she thinks I do. George Orwell wrote, the further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. Wow. Their obsession with Orwellianism as they pioneer practical newspeak is telling. Isn't this an understatement when it comes to the new truth of climate change? Just reality, Peter. It's just reality. The reality is your coal mining mates are going to kill everything we love, and you're going to do whatever you can to help them, and then you'll make up year 10 essay competition arguments to enable it, because that's the totality of your existence, is service to awful power. Peter's giving the thumbs up to New South Wales Liberal MP Andrew Constance. The fact he wants to stand down from the ministry to help his fire-ravaged electorate is the reason he should stay. They need his character in cabinet. Thumbs down to Malcolm Turnbull. His demand that Scott Morrison put in place his old national energy guarantee is laughable, considering he dumped it himself. The NEG's terrible, inadequate policy, it just happened to be better than anything else on offer by either major party, because Labor just wants to drive Teslas to watch the coal exports, don't they? Sunday Telegraph editorial is banging on about the heroism of the fireys. That's up there with the fuel reduction load argument as something to distract from the awful truth. Just like to say, I'm sorry the light level appears to have gone to hell. I'm putting in a slightly different spot, and it seemed okay at the start, and now it's a bit dim, but, you know, I think it's better we crack on. So, Underwater, starring Kristen Stewart, gets 3 stars. It's a movie called Just Mercy, starring Jamie Foxx and Brie Larson, that gets 3.5. There's a Doctor Dolittle remake starring Robert Downey Jr. that gets 2 stars with "Nothing Good About This Doctor" as the headline. Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are back in Bad Boys for Life, which gets 3 stars. So there you go. I'd just like to note, I don't think I explained it when I noted earlier that the book getting 2 pages was HarperCollins' book. That's because it's owned by the Murdoch family. 2 pages, get published by HarperCollins and you get 2 pages in the paper. All right, so we have a story on the new wave of celebrity offspring making their mark. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just judge people on their own achievements? So the Dracula series on Netflix gets 4 stars. Finally, a Dracula that's bloody worth watching. So I've been on the fence on that. I guess I better give it a go. 2 pages on the Mr. Rogers stuff. And a bit on Richard Roxburgh's go-karting movie. Angela Mollard lets us know why we are finally happy to confess to a Botox habit. Duncan Lay is asking whether Bond will beat Black Widow in the box office. Insider gives us the story of model Montana Cox, who they picture in quite a fetching dress, who is in love with a tennis star she hopes to meet at a cocktail party tonight. I'm not sure who's getting the better publicity deal out of that. James Weirs seems to be slightly offended that Chris Hemsworth has been photographed not wearing shoes at Byron Bay. Seems like a place for it. And there we go. That's the paper. Everything the Prime Minister's office wants you to know. Some value to know what the Prime Minister's office wants us to know. Shame it's masquerading as journalism. But that's the Sunday Telegraph for you. Thank you very much for everyone who's made it this far. I'll try and get the lighting a bit better next week. Sorry about that. And do please like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. It's important that we bear these people, hold them to account for what they say, because they are moving to deny that they ever said all the things they said. But they'll have already set loose you crazy uncles. Cool. See you later.